and welcome to one of the most impactful days that you will have this week. I'm Dr. Jacquie, host of A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network. You know, I come to this space today with just a little bit of a head cold. Most of you know allergy season is one of those things that really takes us aback. So today, bear with me. If I sneeze, if I cough, don't be bothered by it. Pray your girl through, because you know, like I know, that allergy sufferers and allergy season is one of those things that really takes us by storm. You know, I'm also being a little solemn today because we're going to broach a subject that oftentimes we don't talk about. We don't talk about in our homes. We don't talk about on television. We don't talk about in too many spaces, if you will, for that moment. So today, you know, all of this month, we've been talking about autism awareness. We've been talking about chiropractic health. But we would be remiss today if we did not have just a little bit of a conversation and dialogue about those things in life that really seem to keep us at bay from living our best life. I'm talking about Sexual Abuse Awareness Month. We just could not do this show and be in a space where we did not talk about it. So I have a prepared statement that I'd like to read today as we begin to get started, and then I'll bring in our guests. We're going to talk about a lot of things today, but here we go. I want to open our show today with the understanding how heavy it is to deal with the weightier issues in life, the things that make it hard for us to get out of bed and face the world. In my own life, transparency is something that I'm quite familiar with. I write about in my book, Fulfill the Art and Joy of Balanced Living, about being abducted when I was in middle school, sexually assaulted, and also date rape when I was in college. You see, many of us struggle with hidden scars. And as we end Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we would be remiss not to, and as we end Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we would be remiss not to say that we see you, we hear you, and we understand you. During this pandemic, we learned so much about why the numbers were down with our children. Many of them were at home with their assailants. They were not at school, having the ability to talk to an administrator, a teacher, a coach, or a bus driver. This gives us an opportunity to let us know that we see all of the things that are happening. The pandemic left our youngest and most vulnerable home alone with their assailants. Men and women alike are suffering silently, whether it's at the hand of a friend, a family member, a coworker, or a total stranger. Don't let anyone steal your joy or your voice, even though they have stolen your innocence. Today on our show, we will discuss these and other concerns on how to overcome hidden scars. Whether you're faking it or faithing it, we pray we are able to guide you to overcoming and healing. Welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited to have our contributors with us today, Mocha Lee, Dr. Tierney, Corey Briscoe, Chef Rock, and of course, Charlotte Avery. You know, when we talk about hidden scars and all of the things that we face from childhood to where we are now as adults, it oftentimes isn't easy. And I want to open up with this very simple question. How hard is it to communicate to people when you're struggling? And anybody can jump in, because I think struggling is one of those things that we've not mastered, but I can tell you that we're really good at masking it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I can say that in the beginning, it was very hard for me. It was hard for me because there are just certain things that you don't want people to know. And sometimes it's easy for people to look at you and feel like you've got it all together. You know, they're dibbling and dabbling in your social media life. They think that, you know, they know you or whatever. And so sometimes it, you know, it has been very difficult, especially in the beginning. It was very difficult for me to ask for help. But I realized that I couldn't get help unless I asked for help. And, you know, so when my behavior started showing it, when my words started showing that I needed help, and I no longer wanted to feel like I had imposter syndrome and I really wanted the help, then I just got brave and I got bold and I started asking. So now in this season of my life, asking for help comes very easy for me.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Tierney.
Absolutely. I love what you just said, Charlotte. And it's one of those things when you said, when you realized that you needed the help and you were bold enough to ask for the help. You know, as a coach, I have to be very aware of that. When I speak with people every day that might know they need the help, but they're not sure if they're going to be judged. They don't know, you know, me from a can of paint. So they don't know if I'm going to understand. They don't know if this will be something that will be used against them, or the information will be used to like embarrass them, because oftentimes those things have happened, you know. So being very aware of that and very sensitive to that, the number one job that I have as a coach is to make my clients feel comfortable, you know, to let them know that they are not alone in this. You know, I coach from a place of authenticity and transparency to let them know, you know, that I've struggled 9 times out of 10, the very same thing that they're feeling, I have felt, I have dealt with, you know. And so the number one thing that I would absolutely say is to just really understand that we've all been there. We all may be there right now, you know. So here's that word again, grace, you know, exercising grace with everyone that we meet, because we don't know what they may be struggling with and how they may be in their space of getting help or not ready to receive help.
Thank you. I want to jump over to Corey for a second because, well, Corey, you used to be the only person that was of the male persuasion in your office, but, you know, you work with women and men alike. And what is it like in the corporate environment, knowing that you have employees who struggled or who may be struggling? In what ways do you embrace or guide them towards still seeing their greatness?
That's a great question, Dr. Jacquie. And I think Dr. Tierney said it best. The reality is that we as people have to come to the point where we understand grace, and we have to understand how to apply grace. And I think a part of that, even as an employer, right, KPIs and the bottom line is important, but are people more important than the product that I produce? And I think for me, it was taking the moment to realize when I invest in people, their mental health, their spiritual health, their well-being, that they often produce much better than I could ever imagine. There's a different level of being fully present, right? We all have had, even in our civic organizations, where people are there, but they're not fully present. And for me, I think it's in that aspect of how do I help them show up and be their best selves? What can I do? What can I say? How do you create a space where people can have the conversations that they need to, or guide them to a resource which allows them to do so? And I think oftentimes, even in our personal relationships, we find that not to be the case. So we can only imagine how that is affected in our corporate atmospheres. And so my approach, and from an HR and culture standpoint, is creating a space, whether that, and I encourage the same with other organizations, whether they're groups or employee resource groups or other things that can be done. But you want to create commonality where people feel like they have trust and can build a relationship. Because once you have a relationship, you often feel like you create a space of trust.
Thank you for sharing that. Chef Rock, man, you guys are everywhere when you're doing your work in the restaurant, when you're catering, when you're sending your folks out, and you're down in DC. And oftentimes, do you find that there's a little trepidation in hiring or people moving around and about and getting things done? What do you see where you are, you know, as a mover and shaker in the restaurant industry?
Well, Dr. Jacquie, I think that there's a couple of things that sort of color my lens in hiring and seeing people. is that, just as Corey alluded to, you have to see people and create space for them to be viewed and valued. If we're talking about, how to, create an environment where people can communicate, or I can communicate to my staff when things aren't sort of rocking internally properly. So for us, for me, I've always said that food is just an opportunity, right? So we focus on the food a lot in the restaurant business, obviously, but we're actually in the people business. Food is simply the connector for us to connect with other people. And when we see it like that, when I see it like that, then the chicken sandwich or the pasta is not, it's just an opportunity to connect with a human being, whether it be a staff member or obviously a customer, and quite frankly, myself. So in this business, we do have a rhythm, right? It is not often it hasn't been historically a great rhythm as far as the culture in the restaurant business, but I think that's shifting. And one of the ways that we can do that is being, as you said earlier, just being aware of how we're feeling, and then as an owner, trying to create space and model the behavior that I want to see in other folks. So, and for me, it's centered around the food, but the food brings me to other people. So that's sort of my lens on how I'm navigating with staff and internally as well.
Thank you for sharing, because oftentimes when we think about where we work and where we're going and how we engage with each other, we have a tendency to, I don't know if we're wearing our feelings on our sleeve, or if we're in that space where we're just always on guard. Mocha, in dealing with your clients, and I know that fitness can be considered as therapy, how do you guide and engage people who are struggling with overcoming to that space of saying it's okay to get out again, it's okay to move your life forward?
I love what we're talking about in terms of trust, in terms of helping people become their best selves. And what I see every day in terms of health and fitness, you're right. People have had major struggles and incidents like you shared that are kind of maybe embarrassing to share. And anything from, weight loss issues, eating disorders, just sleep problems, you name it. I've probably seen it or heard it in my line of business. And the main thing that I want to share, in addition to the trust factor that we're talking about, you have to help people know that they can trust us, as their guide, as their coach. But also they have to know it's okay to fail. Of course you're going to fail, and you might fail again and again and again. And I'm especially just big on, let's not focus so much on, let's not dwell on it so much. You do want to acknowledge your past failures or your past hurts or issues, but then after you get to that point, you're healing, we got to move on. We got to move forward, and know that even if you trip up and fail again, it's got to keep going. So it's that resilience, it's that tenacity, just all those, important things that I really try to instill in my clients. And some days it's light and upbeat, and some days, it's kind of heavy, because, people they get frustrated. They get frustrated, especially when they think about things from the past that just make them depressed or upset or frustrated. So I just try to remind them, let's be in the present moment. We got to stay present. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. When we come back after the break, many of you have already heard and are figuring out in this moment that wherever you are, communication, trust, awareness, allowing yourself to have opportunity to let someone else in is the first step in being able to move forward. When we come back after the break, I want to continue this conversation with our contributors, and then we're going to have a conversation with our special guest, Anita Roberts, when we're back after the break.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network. Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, and as we are saying,
life is filled with swift transition, and we're all in that space where we're attempting to look at ways to navigate the nuances of our lives, whether you're faking it or faithing it. I want to ask you now to unmask, to give yourself grace, to give yourself space to, move into the next season of your life. Of course, we're all hurting. Of course, we all have some type of trauma and pain and trigger that sets us off without warning and without notice. But I want to continue this conversation with our contributors because, there's more to be said and stated. Charlotte Avery, there was a comment that you wanted to make, and I think that our audience will benefit from your words.
So one thing that I wanted to say and that I thought was really, really great that Dr. Tierney and Corey and Chef Rock said. One, Dr. Tierney talked about showing grace. And then our gentleman talked about creating space. And I think one of the best ways that we can create space is also being able to share and tell our story. Because when we're authentic, when we are able to share our stories with others and let them see a little bit of the insight into us, then it makes them, I think, it helps them to feel a little bit safer in being able to say, you know what, I'm not in this silo by myself. I can talk to this person. I can trust them. I can do that because they have now shared with me, and now they have created a space for me to be able to feel safe and talk while also allowing grace to unfold.
Thank you for sharing that information. Anyone else want to comment to that issue? Because as you all are talking and I'm listening to the flow of our dialogue, man, that T word is so hard. Who do you trust with your innermost secrets? Who do you trust with the thing that can, literally just break you down if it got into the wrong hands, if they're talking to other coworkers, if they're talking to family members, within our groups and our organizations, we're honestly, by social media alone, all of us are connected in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And so social media has a way of, what's the word that I want to use? Releasing us from distance. Like a person can be just a click away from information that I may have shared with someone else. And how we allow ourselves to engage in that platform really does matter, so that even though we want to be trusting and vulnerable, we also have to be cautious. And cautious is one of those words I think that we throw around casually. It's like, oh, they're my friends. Well, no, they're just someone on social media. Let's talk for a moment about how social media has really disrupted, our ability to keep things private.
Well, Dr. Jacquie, I'm just going to jump in right here. It is a fine line. I will tell you that a number of my clients have come to me from social media. It was something that I posted, a video, that I might have put up, or something that they were able to watch that video and say, I know that you're my person. I know that I am supposed to talk to you, about this. A lot have even said, I knew it was the Holy Spirit, that as soon as you came across my timeline, it was you, and so social media is a tool. I see it as no different than a hammer, and it's all in how we use it, so it could be the very thing that connects you to your person, or it could be the very thing that we use to dismantle, that thing that is meant to, to help us. So when we look at social media through the correct lens, it could very well be the thing that connects us to the people or the person that we are supposed to trust. Now, in thinking about who we trust, sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that just because this is mama, daddy, sister, cousin, auntie, uncle, been knowing this friend since I was 12, that's the person that we're supposed to trust. But in different seasons of our lives, God will bring us different people to walk through that particular season. There are seasons in my life where my grandmother, was my anchor. I'm in a season right now where my Aunt Gina is my Elizabeth, and she is holding my hand through this season, so the people that we are supposed to trust with the intimacies and the intricacies of who we are and what we're walking through, it may change. So just because someone may not be able to be with you in this season doesn't mean that they're not supposed to be with you in the next season. And just because somebody was with you in the last season doesn't mean that they're supposed to be with you in this season. This is where, for all of my believers, this is where I always say, Ask the Holy Spirit to show you who your people and who your person are.
I'm silent for a moment. Go ahead.
If I could jump in on Dr. Tierney really fast, I think
Sure.
it's interesting. One, I wholeheartedly agree with Dr. T. But I think one of the things that I am learning, even as an employer. So after with the impacts of COVID, we really had to pivot. Like people were mentally spent, people were exhausted, people were dealing with things. And I realized even as an employer that I was working so hard to earn the trust of people, even people that I had for a long time. We were putting in benefits, we were doing things, and we were trying to do all that we can. And then there was a point that I had to realize, even though I believe that trust is earned, the reality is trust can only be given. You can do everything right. You can equip people, you can do everything you think to do. But at the end of the day, it has to be right within their spirit. It has to be right within them to give trust. And I think a part of it is we have to show ourselves trustworthy. We have to create spaces. But when we do all that and people still don't open up, we have to be okay with people going through their processes. Because at the end of the day, trust is given.
Absolutely.
That's good.
When we come back after the break, I'm going to have a conversation one-on-one with Anita C. Roberts. We started this show today talking about how we could not leave this month without bringing awareness to sexual assault, the victims, the overcomers, those who are in that space of saying, my life was going just fine. And then all of a sudden, when we come after the break, we're going to have a poignant conversation with Lieutenant Colonel Anita C. Roberts after the break.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends, go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And as you've been listening and hearing us, we've been talking first about how to create safe spaces for the people in our lives, the people that we work with, our children, just your average everyday person, because daily we're all struggling with something. And as we walked into this new season of our lives, and when I say new, this somewhat new normal of coming through this pandemic, a lot of us were jarred in a sense of having to be in all of the time. And it conjured up some things that we thought that we had forgotten. And then we were told that we were now able to get out and about and be among the people. And then we were triggered and jarred again because all of that uncertainty just kind of rushed back into our heads. And, I said at the very beginning, I'm very open and honest and transparent about my life. And I am in that space where I still have moments where, should I go out today? Where should I go today? How many people are going to be there? Will I feel comfortable in that space? Being sexually assaulted is not something that you just get through. It's a constant work each and every day as you're learning how to trust yourself and trust other people. Our guest today is Lieutenant Colonel Anita Roberts. Anita.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming to talk to us today. You are a personal friend. I love you. And you know that this is a space where, we honestly are grateful that you have decided to come and share with us today. And tell us a little bit about yourself, your time serving in the military and where you are now. And then we'll talk about some other things.
Definitely. Well, as you say, I count you as a personal friend, and you definitely have helped me throughout my journey. Prior to, I think, meeting you, I had a wonderful life, beautiful life. Like I said, I was a lieutenant colonel in the Army, worked on Obama's staff in 2008. Just really felt like, I had the world, in my hands, doing everything that I loved. I loved telling the stories of our soldiers and sailors in the military. I had 2 beautiful boys, just living the life I thought of, that everybody's supposed to be living, that American dream. I didn't feel like that I had too many cares in the world. So it's been this journey with having, something so traumatic happen to you, and then it redefines who you are and what you are. I guess I'll just start there.
Okay. I know that this is a little bit difficult for you, and I'm grateful that you're taking the opportunity to share, because right now, everywhere, young girls are deciding to either graduate high school and go to college, or they're deciding after they've taken the ASVAB and they've been in junior ROTC that they may decide that they want to go to the military. And I know that it shakes parents at their core when they hear that their daughter wants to go and serve in the military, not just of the things that are happening in the world, but there's some things that happen internally in the military that women are subjected to: harassment, verbal abuse, sexual assault, that oftentimes we don't think about because we do it in the name of serving our country. But there's some things that I don't think you signed up for. Can you share a little bit about that? Statistics are high as it relates to sexual assault in the military. Violence remains, pervasive. In 2018, 2,500 service members were sexually assaulted, 13,000 being men and 7,500 being men. And so when you think about those numbers and those statistics, it brings us to the conversation that we're having today of your experience serving in the military.
Well, as I share with you, this isn't something that I've ever spoken about publicly, just because as a PR and marketing person, you're always trying to tell someone else's story and not your own. But, in sharing my own story and standing in my own truth, I was assaulted in 2002. And at that time in the military, I was a major. I was up for promotion, and when it happened, it was very big and a lot of stuff going on because it was a ranking officer above me, and our boss basically gave me a choice. His choice was, you can forget this happened and move on with your career and just forget about it, or we can go through the process of, the legal process and all of that. And so there was a choice that I was given, which I didn't feel like there should have been a choice. It was clear cut, but it was something that I was given. And I feel like I became a part of the problem because I decided not to pursue the charges, because I took the out. I said, okay, let me just forget it. But of course, then that I feel like set me up for, to not to say I was assaulted again, but to be hurt again. So in 2013, when I was in Afghanistan and I was assaulted there, it was a different experience because it was a familiar experience, because the first time I knew my assailant. This time I didn't. And so that just brings up so many things, because when you've been assaulted by somebody, you don't know their face, you don't know who they are. That person's still out there. So it just brings with it so many more scars and things that you have to deal with. It's just like you said, it's a daily battle. It is. And if you know anybody who has post-traumatic stress disorder, they will tell you that every single day we're trying to get over that. that trauma every single day. It's a daily process. It's not something that, like you said, you just go through and it's over. It's a daily process. Every single day, we're hoping that nothing's triggered. We hope that when we're out in the grocery store, there's not a loud noise that's going to startle us. And I think you and I had an experience where we were at a conference and there's a bunch of balloons popping, and all of a sudden I just started crying because it just took me back to that space. So you just never know, because it's always there. But like you said, those triggers are there. Sometimes you don't even know what they are. You don't even know what they look like. But again, at this point, I'm just grateful to be able to, I guess, speak my truth in public and know that I've been able to get not over it, but I'm still working through it. But it's made me a better person in everything that I do, because I look at where I've been and where I was, and now I'm this whole different person.
Becoming this whole different person, as you stated, has been a journey for you, and in carrying your hidden scars. And I have to tell you, you carry them well. And oftentimes I wonder, is it because of the healing that has taken place with you internally, or are you just really good at masking your pain? And the reason I'm asking that question is because there are women and men who are going to be watching. And sometimes I don't know if they can tell the difference. Can you share with us? I think you know the difference. So can you share with our audience on how they can determine if they're masking their pain, or are they really walking to a space of healing?
Sure. Well, I think you mentioned faking it or feeling it, faking it or faithing it. And I think I had to do both. In the beginning, when it first happened, I faked it. I said I was, fine. I didn't need the counseling. I didn't need it. I was fine. I just wanted to go home. I wanted to be with my family. Let me get over this, just like I did the first time. But all of those scars, all of those things just kept coming back. It didn't matter what I did, so the faking it can only last so long, right? And so I had to deal with it. I was going to church, thinking that church would be, would serving others and being able to keep, to not think about my own pain and really try to help other people. And so that helps a lot for me, just really serving in the church. But the other piece was I had to deal with my own stuff. I had to go to counseling. I had to go through the, years of counseling to be able to get to a place where I could even speak without crying. And if you knew me before, you would know I would never cry. But it does something to you. Like I said, it makes you a different person. And so you can only fake it so long. And so that's why I had to seek care through mental health, through the system, and it really did help. There's a lot of programs out there. I'm a counselor by my background is in counseling as well. So I do believe in therapy. I believe that it helps every single person. But when it comes to a sexual assault, it's a special thing. It's a special type of person that you need to address that. And every therapist that you meet may not be the one for you. And you just have to find the right person that helps you deal with all of that stuff that you're carrying around. But you can only fake it so long.
Yeah, I think that we're all pretty good at faking it and faithing it. That space that we find ourselves in when we're ready to step out into the world. What did that look like for you? Now, I'm taking a breath because I want to phrase this correctly, because having two incidences in your life, it has a tendency to kind of not only shake you, but break you. And being a mom of two boys, in that space, and I'm asking this question because how does your family respond to the things that you have been through? And were you able to find the solace and comfort there? I'm asking because I want our audience to understand that they have a role to play as well in the healing that comes after being assaulted.
Well, I guess I consider myself a strong person. And I know when it happened to me, I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anybody. I told one person, and that was my partner at the time, and he was not supportive at all. And it really broke me. And so I felt the guilt, I felt the shame, I felt all of these things that, everybody feels when something bad happens. So I didn't feel like I had people to talk to. And it took years of me, serving and going through counseling. And I met this wonderful coach at one point in my life. And she told me that it was time. It was time to get out of, to stop being stuck in that space that I was in. And so I will tell you that sometimes your family may not be the person that, or they may not be the place where your comfort lies. For me, it was this person who just happens to be on the other end of this camera, who was there for me, who showed and told me that I was better than what happened to me, and that who I was is not who I was going to be, and that all basically gave me tools and tasks to do to ensure that I was successful. And I will tell you that I am still forever grateful, because that kind of talk where it was one of those, what do you call it? It's like those come to Jesus talks where somebody says, okay, Anita, it's time for you to stop. You've been there in this space long enough, because it was 4 years for me. I spent 4 years in the darkness. And this person said to me, Anita, it's been long enough. It's time for you to tell a different story and to do something different. And I tell you, I never looked back. I believed what she said. I believed who she said I was. And honestly, today I am a CEO of a company. We're working to build up other Black women companies, funding them with a $25 million fund. So all the stuff that I'm now able to do, honestly, it's because of someone who was not in my family. She happened to be a coach, a sorority sister who saw me and saw my pain when we were talking. I mean, we never talked about what was going on in my life. But at some point she just said, I see something in you. And she got me to talking, and I finally unloaded it, and she received it, and she helped me get out of that place that I was in. And I can tell you, since then I've written 2 books. I've interviewed over 500 folks, 500 professionals and community leaders, telling their stories, because I'm still a storyteller. So stories that may not have ever been told. And again, extending that to helping build up other businesses. So God be the glory, that it's a process, but I thank you. I thank you for being there.
Thank you, Anita, for sharing those words with us. When we come back after the break, going to bring Anita in. We're going to talk to everybody, because I think there's something joyous to celebrate when you're on the other side of the pain. When we're back after the break.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A Black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
Welcome back to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie, bringing everybody back in. I want us to have a little bit of conversation in the time that we have left about the power of overcoming. I think that all of us are in that space where we've been somewhere, someone has said something to us, done something to us, made us feel some kind of way, and just a whole lot of other things that we are talking about today. Because honestly, the hidden scars, shouldn't be the things that weigh us down. We should be able to look at them and say, I saw you, but I overcame you too. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
I know we're like, a little heavy. I know, right? A little heavy. Anita, we love you. And thank you so much for sharing with us because, we all are in the space of being our own bosses. Everyone on this panel is an entrepreneur, and we work with people from all walks of life. But sometimes we don't know every person's story at the moment that we meet them. And you've given us some insight on how to see the person. Doesn't matter what their past was, what their pain was, what their triggers are. We want to exercise humanity in all that we do. And I'm coming to Corey Briscoe, and I'm going to make my rounds. Because, Corey, in listening to Anita talk, you have women in your family and some young people in your family. When you think about the things that Anita has shared, where does it place you as a male in your understanding of how to reach a woman and let her know her value and her worth?
And Anita's incredible, and one, I want to thank her for her amazing service to this country. I paused and I listened to her, and I actually was just so grateful for my dad. It warmed my heart that I had a dad who loved on me so much that helped me to be sensitive to the women in my life, that helped me to have incredible EQ, that made me realize that there is a privilege and a responsibility to manhood in America, if we're just honest. But that you had to understand that and use that to lift up the sisters, the nieces, those who unfortunately haven't always had, or maybe I'll say it like this, whose voices sometimes are taken from them. They've always had the voice. They just, sometimes it's been taken from them. And so for me, I doubled down on that. How do I show up to people that I love, specifically to women in my life? And how do I show up, one, as an ally, but two, as someone that they can trust and lean on? Toxic masculinity is a real conversation in America, and it's one that has to be had. And the inability to have that conversation and deal with those real challenges often lead to situations like this, where we just sweep stuff under the rug or not deal with things. And so for me, it is being emotionally present and showing yourself as an ally with real tangibility.
Thank you for sharing that. Chef Rock.
Yes. So I definitely, I want to thank Anita thank you for sharing your story and your for your courage. It is an inspiring, and I just applaud you because I'll lead into how we can show up as men. I'm 45 and I've been married for quite some time, and I'm a chef as well. I'm in the restaurant business, and men want to fix things. What can I do? And chefs, restaurant people, we have a motto: make it happen, right? And what I've learned is that that skill or those skills are not transferable when it comes to showing up for women necessarily, especially when it comes to someone, sharing their pain or just venting, right? So I think that the one thing that I've learned, and it's been a hard lesson for me, is that what we can do is quite frankly, we can just, just shut up, right? Um, and ask questions. I think Dr. T will appreciate. I've learned more about mirroring. I'm sure Charlotte would appreciate that as well. Everyone, but I think that I can speak for myself and many of my compadres is that we often do want to fix. I think that's natural that we want to fix. We want to. What can I do? We get angry when someone that we love is attacked. But what I found in the time, and this is with staff, no matter the gender or the age, is just being present, as Corey just said, just being present and receiving, not making a judgment call, not going to this is what you should have done, this is what we can do. Just I hear you, I see you, and that's even with customers as well. So again, it's a constant practice, but I think that has worked for me. It's just mirroring back and letting the person know that I saw you. When I first did it, it was weird, but it was received so well, and I think we moved into another facet of our relationship. So I just want to encourage men, all people, but definitely men, because we do have a tendency to talk and to try to fix and how this could have gone another way. When I don't know if you all agree, but what's worked best is for us to just be still, let the person across from you, I see you, I hear you, and you matter. What you said matters.
So for Mocha, Dr. Tierney, and Charlotte, give words of encouragement to Anita and other women who may be facing and trying to not only live out their truth, but finding someone that they can trust so that they can move on in their lives.
Absolutely. So, Anita, one of the things that you said that you did is something that I tell my clients all the time. You have to get real about what you feel so that you can really heal. And you get permission to be vulnerable in that space. So when Dr. Jacquie called that thing out, you took your mask off. You stopped faking it. You stopped saying, I'm fine. And you got real about it. And the healing began. So kudos to you for that. And that's something that I tell all of my clients and all of us, that faking it till we make it, we become so preoccupied and we spend so much of our energy trying to make things look as if they were or how they were, or trying to hide that thing, when really that's energy that you should be giving to yourself to heal that space, to love on yourself, to open yourself up to the people that God has sent you to really hold your hand and walk you through that space. It's okay. I promise you, just right here on this panel, you have a good 5 people just right here that if you don't know anybody else, shoot me a message, Dr. Jacquie a message, Charlotte a message, Anita a message, Mocha a message. Any one of us will be more than happy to love on you and to let you know that it's okay and help you walk out your healing.
Mocha.
Wow. I mean, Sister Anita, you have touched me. Believe you me. I mean, you're amazing. And the one thing I just want to say is, for whoever's watching, just know as a woman, you are so strong. You really are. You are strong. You are resilient. And on the moments that you feel a little weak, it's okay. And the trust factor comes, just like Dr. Tierney said, when you just open yourself up and allow yourself to know that if God is sending you someone who you can open up to and just share, then the healing is going to come from there. And the strength is knowing that the healing is going to be painful at times. That's real, but the pain is only temporary, because when you come out on the other side, I mean, you've written 2 books. You blew me away. So thank you for sharing. And I just encourage all women to take bits and pieces from all that has been said.
Charlotte Avery.
Like everyone, I want to echo the fact that Anita, you are amazing, and the fact that you took the opportunity to share your story so that we could hear your voice about the things that have happened in your life is just so amazing. And I love what you said. I love what you said about not getting over it, but working through it. So powerful, so very powerful. And what I want to say, and to the audience and to everybody who's watching, is that what, your tears are not for nothing. There's power in your tears. There's power in your truth. There's power in your testimony. And there is so much triumph and victory when you get to the place where you can share and no longer be held captive. So be brave, like our sister Anita here, and, find your safe space, give yourself grace and others around you to be able to get to the place where you can tell your truth and tell your story so that you can be set free.
Anita, no words. We love you. We are grateful for your presence today. Our audience, we love you. And we wouldn't be tackling some of the difficult things that we talk about if we didn't believe that there was joy in the journey. I identify and recognize as I do my reflection that not everything that we do is easy. But there are seasons in our lives where we have to take that moment to say, I can step out of this space, the space that's holding me hostage, the space that keeps me bound, the space that won't allow me to breathe and be my true self. Because all of us are greater than what we've been through. And it is through our overcoming that we allow ourselves to show up each and every day in our own lives, that we may give others power in their voice and strength and courage for their journey. Thank you, everyone, for watching today, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie here at the Black Star Network.